Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope y'all are doing great. Today we're going to do a small mini review for the game Dispatch, a game that came out on October 22. Well, technically episodes 1 and 2 came out on October 22, and every single week they release a brand new episode. It's kind of like an episodic game, kind of like The Walking Dead or The Wolf Among Us made by Telltale Games. As a matter of fact, I believe some of the developers who worked on those games also worked on this. So if you're a fan of those games and you like them, and you like that kind of style of gameplay, then you'll definitely like this game. So I'm going to start off by talking about what the game is about, like the main plot and stuff like that. So you play as a guy named Robert, and his dad used to be the superhero called Mecha Man. Doesn't really have any superpowers. He's just a guy in a giant mech suit that goes around saving people. But his dad was killed by this evil villain named Shroud, and he's been trying to get vengeance against trying to avenge his dad and kill Shroud, but unfortunately he fails and he got injured really badly and his mech suit got wrecked. Now he's working for a company called Superhero Dispatch Network, or SDN for short, where he basically sits behind a computer and he talks to the different superheroes that you have to send out to do tasks and stuff, like heroic tasks. As you can see here, this is going to be basically like the main gameplay of the game, other than selecting different dialogue options, or sometimes in combat you'll have to like click the screen or you have to click the mouse to do stuff or whatever, But yeah, this is basically what he does, or well, technically what you do. So let's kind of talk about it a little bit. You basically assign a hero on a task, or multiple heroes to a task, and it'll say, like on the right side of the screen, as you can see, like it'll say this and that. It'll be highlighted in orange, and there's like different types of like for example, convincingly pose as a buyer, or preferably somebody highly educated on drugs. So for a mission like that, you need somebody who has strong traits in the brain category and the one in the being able to talk to other people and convince them and stuff. So you put characters there and you try to kind of fill out this kind of like spider web diagram thing, and the more you fill it out, like the higher your chance are to pass and get a successful mission. And so for example, for a mission like that, you'd have to assign heroes that are very good at talking, so to have good traits, to be proficient and talking to people, and to have also to be smart. So you put heroes so that can fill out that criteria, and then you set them off, and your chances of succeeding would be very high. And that's kind of what you do, rinse and repeat and stuff like that for the different types of tasks that you send out. But then there's some tasks where you gotta like hack into the system. It requires you, because like something happens, like the security camera down, you gotta hack into it, and you play this kind of like little mini game where you move this cube around and you gotta try and like unlock different pathways, and sometimes it'll be this little eyeball virus thing that follows you around and tries to destroy you. So you gotta avoid that while trying to figure out passwords. And there's some passwords that are blanked out that you have to go to different sections to find. Like it'll be like a 2-part password. It'll be like, left, right, up, and then down, right, left, or whatever. And you gotta find both of them and then head back and then fill in the password and stuff like that. I know I'm doing a terrible job of explaining it, but I hope y'all understand. And then there's some tasks where if you send a character out on a mission, something will happen. It'll ask you like, so and so happened, and what should you do, and you pick whatever option you think is best that can help you succeed. Sometimes you won't succeed, sometimes you will, and the more tasks you successfully complete, you kind of like level up your character. So you level up Robert the dispatcher, and you can unlock different traits to kind of like, for example, I have this one trait where if I could give coffee to like one of the heroes to take them off cooldown, so I could send them quickly to do another mission, and I can unlock other things like the hospital. If a character's hurt, I can just send them to the hospital and get them fixed up so they can be operating at their best. And that's kind of like the majority of the gameplay, essentially. Other than that, like from a gameplay perspective, it's just cutscenes, and there's dialogue options that you pick. And I'm sure if you've played The Walking Dead by Telltale or The Wolf Among Us, or really any Telltale game, you pretty much know how that works. You pick something, and then like if you say something rude or you disagree with the character, it'll say like, oh, so and so will remember that, or whatever, and sometimes that could have like different outcomes. If you have a character that starts to hate you or whatever, then later on in the story they won't help you when you need help or whatever, that kind of stuff. So it's basically that. Now I'm going to talk about the characters a little bit. So majority of the characters here are kind of like you got like kind of like a asshole kind of personality. They're kind of rude, at least in the beginning. They think like oh, you know, you're a new guy, you know, they're just gonna like not give a shit about you, they're gonna treat you badly. But as you play the game, Robert kind of forms this bond with the heroes, and they kind of become close friends, and he kind of earns their trust and stuff like that. And most of them don't know that he's Mecha Man, because he's trying to keep that identity as a secret, because when Robert was out in the field as Mecha Man doing heroic tasks, he kind of got into some fights with some of the heroes, and part of the reason why he got arrested and why they work at SDN is because of him. Like, for example, Flambe. You'll find out later in the game that they have a bit of a history together. You'll see that he's got like 2 fingers missing, and that it was Robert who sliced off those 2 fingers. Oh, and just to note that majority of these heroes here used to be villains, and what SDN does is they kind of like take them in and kind of like rehabilitate them to like be heroes and stuff like that, to do good things. So to kind of conclude, if you've played games like I've said before, The Walking Dead and The Wolf Among Us, or really any Telltale game, then you'll definitely like this one. I feel like this one is more this game is more like in depth. Like, your choices that you make actually matter compared to the other games, in my opinion. They do have like, you do have different endings and different outcomes and stuff. I find the story kind of meh. Like, it's not bad, it's, you know, it's all right. It didn't really like, you know, I wasn't really hooked to the screen, you know, I wasn't really like, I find the story kind of okay. It's not terrible, but it's not good. It's kind of like, you know, it's alright, I suppose. It didn't have me hooked from start to finish like season 1 of The Walking Dead or The Wolf Among Us, season 1 of Wolf Among Us. But it's okay, you know, it's serviceable. Hopefully there'll be like a season 2 based on the way the game ends. Well, I guess it depends how it ends, because your choices kind of do matter. There might be a season 2. I have no idea. Hopefully there is. You know, I'm curious to see where they go with that. But yeah, this is a good game. I highly recommend it. It is only $30. It took me about 9 hours to beat the game, so I think $30 is probably worth it. I think so. Plus, you know, the game does have replayability. You can just play it again and choose different dialogue options and have different outcomes and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely replayable. And overall, I think it's a pretty solid game. You know, I'd give it, if I were to give it a score, I'd probably give it like an 8 out of 10, I would say. Yeah, simply because I feel like the story is just kind of what brings the score down, because I find it kind of, like I said, just kind of meh. You know, like, I don't know, it just didn't do anything for me. Like, it's alright, you know. Which, I mean, if you think about it, the story and the characters and the dialogue and that kind of stuff is very important for these types of games, because nobody really plays these kinds of games for the gameplay. If we're being honest, we play it for the interesting characters, the emotional moments, you know, a good story and stuff like that, etc., etc., and good like choices that you make that have like real impact and stuff like that, right? I mean, it's a reason why The Walking Dead, at least season 1, is remembered so fondly. You know, it's because you have characters like Lee and Clementine and Kenny and all these other guys that you meet, and they're all interesting and layered, and the story and the journey that you go through with them is very it's quite a roller coaster, you know. And in these types of games, you know, they live and die by the story, because nobody, you know, if we're being honest, nobody plays it for the gameplay. We play it for the story, right? It's essentially like an interactive movie in a way. So I feel like that's why it pretty much dropped 2 points, simply because the story is just kind of okay, in my opinion. It's not bad. I'm not saying it's terrible. It's, you know, it's good. It's serviceable, sure. But anyway. Oh, and a cool thing about this game is that the main character, Robert, that you play as, is voiced by Aaron Paul, the guy who played Jesse from Breaking Bad, and Sonar, the bat creature, half man, half bat creature, is voiced by the content creator Moist Critical. I'm sure y'all have heard of him. He's kind of big on the internet, which I think is kind of cool. So yeah, just a little fun fact. But yeah, thank you for watching the video. Hope y'all appreciate it. Have a fantastic day. Sorry that this isn't really like a typical video that I do, where I usually have a script and I read off a script and stuff. I've just been pretty busy with like real life stuff, you know. Yeah, you know, I don't want to sound like I'm making excuses or anything, you know. But yeah, hope y'all have a fantastic day, and I'll see y'all on the next one.